and welcome back to another edition of Memescape News, the best source of information on the current happenings of the Memescape. And for the final time this year, I am your host, Evan. Now, normally, in this show, I like to go through the memes of the week. In fact, that's what I've done for the past consecutive 170 weeks, since September 2018. But this time, I'd like to do something a little different, and that is go through the past year and talk about some of the most interesting things, some of the most unusual things, some of the most noteworthy things, and my favorite memes of the year. So let's get started. 2021 was the sequel to 2020 in that it was just as turbulent, just as strange, and just as lovable to people who are sadistic. Boy, where to begin? Well, I think that an interesting thing that took place this year was the confluence of many different memes. If you remember, of course, last year we had the spawning of Among Us, in terms of memes anyway. Was that 2019, actually? I actually don't remember. It might be even longer than that, to tell you the truth. It's been around a while. But Among Us memes have been a staple of this entire year. And probably the most interesting thing about Among Us memes is that they have not stopped at Among Us. They've kind of incorporated all sorts of various different aspects of meme culture into this huge melting pot of just meme soup that engulfs everything like the void from Pibby. An example of that, I guess, would be how Friday Night Funkin' memes essentially became an amalgamation with it. And then you take the Goku drip meme, which essentially just became drip memes, which then became Among Us drip, which actually was last year, but technically this year too. It was like the end of last year, spanning into like January and February. And then you take the Breaking Bad memes that have just continued to be a thing for the past decade, since Breaking Bad became relevant, you remember the Dean Norris Happy Sad meme became Hank Sussy Baka. Because that's just how internet culture was this year. Everything became about Among Us. Well, not everything, but a lot of shit became about Among Us. And that's just the power of this meme. Which was just beautiful. Another thing that I noticed is that more and more memes were relating to China or had some Chinese influence. And a great example of that is, of course, the whole social credit meme, the social credit, positive and negative social credit score tests, and of course, the John Cena speaking in Chinese stuff. A couple of years ago, irony primarily focused around Arabic memes, r/Arab funny, that sort of thing. But I've noticed in the past couple years that switched from Arabic to Chinese. And it's very interesting how irony has become to almost revolve around Chinese memes instead. Another example, there's all sorts of different Chinese language memes that have been popular. Another example is Super Idol. You remember that? Some people might say that it's an example of, Chinese propaganda trying to take control of American minds, but of course, anybody who says that is a conspiracy theorist, and would probably be fun at Thanksgiving, but otherwise should remain 50 feet away from. But it is fun to think about that, there might be some sort of guy in some stuffy room in Beijing trying to figure out how to influence our meme culture so we all become gay Chinese communists. Glory to Mao. Another interesting thing that I noticed was how scandals were quite popular again this year. Of course, there's always drama that's popular in meme culture. This was primarily common in 2016 and 2017. I remember all the sorts of shit with Pyrocynical and Leafy. That was just everywhere, but it seemed to take kind of a back seat. But rather than being about drama between different people, two different creators, it seemed to be there were multiple people who kind of got fucked over. Well, they fucked themselves over, of course. And this again was something that happened in 2019 as well. But it's all, if you remember, Pro Jared, James Charles, but it's always fun to think about, like, the new people who that's happened to. If you remember all the memes about Dream cheating, that was a very interesting thing. And of course, who can forget EDP445 absolutely just betraying our hearts, as it turns out that he was... Well, he probably should have been on Chris Hansen. And in fact, Chris Hansen commented on the situation. That's a whole nother story, and I'm sure you can find the episode of Memescape News where I talked about that. And there were so many other things that happened this year, because it was 365 days of shit. But to close it out, I'd like to talk about some of my favorites. For example, remember when the Suez Canal was blocked? I do. And that was really funny. But, I don't know. It was definitely a vanilla sort of meme, but could have some funny applications anyway, Does anybody remember Top 500 Cheese? I do. It was a 5-hour slideshow of various different cheeses in Windows 95 Movie Maker, and it was just stupid, so stupid, and I loved it. Lore memes were also great. You remember those? We had just printer lore, and it was just like how a printer works. The Mordecai and Twilight airplanes meme was one of my favorites. It's a meme that existed since 2018 and earlier, in fact, because people would always make fun of that original piece of art. But just, all the artists getting together and creating beautiful tapestries of irony was just an amazing collaborative effort that we all saw this year, and it was really wonderful. If you remember early this year, we had Trollface horror memes, like Trollface incident memes, which were a lot of fun. There were subreddits that were shut down because they were too violent, I think, r/killher. If anybody remembers that, it was the idea of schizophrenic, kill your wife, and it's the Trollface stabbing people. It's just insane what people came up with, and it was truly excellent. A meme that I felt didn't get enough attention this year was Love the Mets. I talked about this a couple months ago, where it was just oh yeah, I love the Mets. It was such a stupid bait and switch, and I thought it was wonderful. I continue to beat myself up over not making any of these, because I felt like it would have been very funny. I probably still could, but it's not it's past its prime, I guess. IP address memes with SpongeBob were funny. I don't know, there were, of course, a threatening aura from them. There's so many others I can probably think of if I racked my brain, These are the ones that I wrote down ahead of time because I thought they'd be fun to talk about. But, honestly, when you have any sort of length of time as long as a year, it's going to have so much to talk about that you could never possibly cover all of it. So it's just always worth a nice opportunity to sit down and take a nice year in review. A couple years ago, I did one for 2018, but it was really just a meme compilation. I feel that this is a better format because rather than having some nameless face just put together a bunch of things that he didn't make, I just like to talk. I like to talk, and for the 5 people who are still listening, after sitting through this 10-minute video, I have to say, I appreciate it. And I'm excited for the future, not just for the meme culture, of course, but for the future of this show. You've noticed that I've been having more guests on, and I'd like to do other things. Panels, I'd like to have even more people on. My ultimate goal for Memescape News is to create a meme culture news show. Not just a meme explanation show. And I'm happy doing that, but I want it to be covering meme culture, what you missed, and perhaps a documentation for the future. I want to have panels on how people feel about current events that relate to meme culture and that sort of thing. Even like debates, Just, it would be fun. It would be so much fun. And we'd have all sorts of segments and lots of contributors. A boy can dream, right? A boy can dream. Does it happen? I don't know. But one thing's for sure, and because there are really 3 constants in life: death, taxes, and Memescape News. And I'll be happy to see you next year, and the year after that, and the year after that, until I inevitably either retire or die. And I'm serious. This is edition 171. I have not missed a week. I have been doing this since I was 15 years old, and I will continue to do it for the rest of time. Probably. And finally, for this week, this.
Morbo demands an answer to the following question. What you know about...
Yeah, of course, the favorite meme of the week, I can never go without it, a favorite thing I see. That's about it for this edition of Memescape News. If you thought there was something that I talked about that I didn't talk about that I should have, let me know about it in the comments. Your favorite thing this year. I'd appreciate it. What's your favorite meme of this year? I'd like to know. If you want to come on the show, please let me know, and I'd love to have you on. I say that every week, and that's because it's true. I love working with people. I think you're all great. See you, ladies and gents, later. Oh! Happy New Year. And now, see you, ladies and gents, later.